Heyo everybody, Haku here with a channel update video that I'll probably sort of title as like HaQ&A 78.5 or something like that. So my second ever .5 HaQ&A, though the branding of that isn't quite accurate since I'm not going to be talking about questions and comments as much, but it's more of three parts. First off, I wanted to make this to update you on sort of the changes to the uploading schedule, which are not very big. The changes are very minimum, luckily. So I'm going to update you on that. I want to talk about the fall anime season, what I'm going to be reviewing, because of course that's what's changing the schedule. A whole new season coming in, so my seasonal reviews are going to be changing, and everything else around that a little bit. So then beyond that, I wanted to talk a little bit about the fall anime season, like my first thoughts on all the shows I've seen so far, which are basically every show I'm going to watch this season except for 4. There's only 4 that haven't premiered yet, and none of those 4, I think, having not seen them yet, are ones I wanted to review anyway. But we'll see how things go with that. And in addition to that, the third thing is that there are a lot of shows from last season that I talked with some of you about, or that some of you like Isekai Mao Toshokan Shoujo Dore Majutsu. That's a long title. But a ton of people have been telling me for a long time to watch or read that, and I did watch it, but I didn't review it weekly. And so I wanted to do some series reviews for shows like that, and shows that I just liked in general last season, and I think I'm going to have time in the schedule to do that basically every week, for some shows last season, maybe even for some shows older than that, and for some general stuff. But we'll talk about that when I get to all of that. So I'll actually do that first, because I've basically already told you what the deal is with it. There are shows like that that I wanted to do reviews for. Now, I kind of made a poll that I had 2 ways of doing it. I could either do reviews for each individual show that I wanted to talk about, like Asobi Asabase is one of them, Chio-chan no Tsugakuro, and Isekai Mao. So multiple shows like that. Or I could do like 2-3 shows of video and just do big videos where I review multiple shows. The poll was unanimous in wanting me to do separate videos for each show. So that might take longer if I do like 1 a week. That might take me longer to get done with, but I'm fine doing it that way, if that's what you prefer. But I want to know your input. How would you prefer it? So in addition, yeah, there's how would you prefer that, and I believe those will probably be on Saturdays, maybe Sunday, sometime in the weekend, when I do those videos. So yeah, there actually really wasn't much to say about that other than to update you that it was happening. I didn't really have much of anything to ask you about it. But either way, before I talk about the schedule, I'll talk about this season and what I thought about it, and then I'll save the schedule for last. So either way, I actually have I took a screen cap up earlier for when I ranked the premieres of the shows I watched from fall 2018 from least to best. So I'm going to talk about them, and I'm only going to talk about the non-short form ones, so there's going to be 17. Now, and I'm going to just try to do it super briefly. I'm not going to get super in-depth with any of them, because I've just seen 1 episode, and this is just some general thoughts. If you want to watch these shows yourselves, or if you want to tell me to review these, I'm totally open to reviewing actually 1 or 2 more, if there's 1 or 2 more you really want me to talk about week to week. But even for short forms, I like the one about, I've, again, only seen 1 episode, but the one about marrying the monsters was really cute. And then I feel so bad, Himote House I have to drop, because I could not take the animation. I saw a bunch of people saying the same thing. I don't like to be negative about things, but yeah, I couldn't take the animation. There was no way. And then there was another short form one. Oh, the one about the skeleton working at the bookstore, Honda-san, whatever. That one was really fun. I liked that. Again, it reminded me like what I was saying about the trailer, where it looks like a Japanese-made Adult Swim cartoon, basically. But either way, these 17 shows that I am watching, the bottom 2 are kind of on the verge of being dropped. I don't plan to drop any of the rest of them, but the bottom 2, not so sure about. So 17th out of the 17, the least favorite premiere I had was Sora to Umi no Aida. Now the animation I thought looked fine. The issue with it is The girl, like, none of it makes sense. Nothing about it makes sense. It's about cute girls doing cute things, space fishing. That's what I thought it was going to be. I was totally in for that, even though it makes no sense. So apparently all the fish disappeared from the ocean, so they built fish tanks up in space. How would they get fish tanks in space if all the fish disappeared? It makes no sense. And then they don't know what are in the fish tanks, so that makes no sense. If they built them, wouldn't they know what was in them? And then that would have been a fine premise. I would have been like, whatever, I'll deal with it. It's a fine premise. It's just cute girl space fishing. And then they add in like the battle girl stuff, like summoning gods and stuff through your cell phone. And I was like, okay, this is too much. It's like 2 or 3 different shows and it can't figure out what show it wants to be. So I'm going to continue watching it because the girl with the silver hair was kind of cute. But it's kind of on the chopping, or on the dropping block, so to speak. And 16 was Goblin Slayer. Now, Goblin Slayer was one that everybody kept talking about it, so it really got my hopes up. And then I watched it, and again, I don't want to be super negative about things, but it was kind of lazy. It was one of those things where it wasn't dark, it was edgy. Where a dark story, it has a bunch of like brutal and bad stuff, but there's this really deep and meaningful reason to all of it, and edgy is just throwing out that stuff to be cheap and try to get you to feel something without telling an actual story. And that's kind of what Goblin Slayer was. Like, the goblins brutalizing and defeating the or even killing characters and stuff, comparing it to Haito no Grimgar. Grimgar told a really good story with that, and that was the story that this is a more serious and real fantasy world where it's not just so easy to walk through and kill anything. You have to kill things in a more strategic manner. And Goblin Slayer did that a lot more poorly. It did basically the same thing, only less good. So to contrast it with Slime Dataken, which was one of my favorite premieres, Slime Dataken took a kind of, sort of, I don't know what to call it. It took a setting that I had already seen a million times, and it did new stuff with it and better stuff with it that I didn't expect. And Goblin Slayer, again, took a sort of idea for a show that I've already seen a bunch, and it did new things that, well, it didn't really do new things. It did the same things, only worse. So yeah, Goblin Slayer just wasn't that great. It felt like they added in all the like killing and rape kind of stuff because they were like, you know, we can't tell a story to make you emotionally attached, so let's just show the worst stuff we can. And that's what a lot of these edgy shows do. They're like, well, we can't think of a way to get you emotionally invested, so let's just show the worst stuff we can to get that cheap emotional evocation out of you. So that's kind of what happened with Goblin Slayer. So it's on the dropping block too. I want to keep giving it a chance, but yeah, from the first episode I didn't like it very much. 15th, I would say ssss.gridman. It was alright. It's not really, I don't think it's special enough to be like what kind of redeems Trigger, so to speak. But the thing is, it had amazing animation for just the normal hanging out around school kind of scenes, and all the kids hanging out and stuff. Those normal slice of life-ish scenes were really well animated. Then we get to the big robot fight, and you're like, oh, it's Trigger with a big robot fight. It's going to be amazing. And it was really not good 3D CG. And here's the problem with 3D CG in general. I'm not going to shit on it all. But one of the problems you have to overcome when you're going to use 3D CG is that it is difficult to have weight and impact. Things look light. Things look like they just slide and clip past one another rather than like really having any sort of tension or I don't know, things like tension, inertia, friction. It's hard to get those with 3D CG animation, and there are some 3D CG anime that have done it very well. Like, just off the top of my head, what was it? The one about the rock people? Oh, Hoseki no Kuni. Did it really well, and Gridman did not. So it wasn't good 3D CG, and that's what I was thinking. One, how does Trigger not do a giant robot fight incredibly well? But secondly, how are you going to have animation that's so amazing for the slice of life stuff, and then you're going to get your big fight at the climax of the episode and it's not going to have very good animation? So yeah, Gridman, kind of a weird situation where it looked really great and then somehow was a little disappointing at the same time. Next up, sorry I'm taking too long with each of these, more than I wanted to. Irozuko? Yeah, Irozuku Sakai no Ashita Kara. That one, though, I thought it was going to be one of those, and it kind of is one of those where if it was an American movie, you would just call it Oscar bait. You know those kind of anime that come out every once in a while with really, really detailed animation and this sort of slow storytelling style, and they're kind of all a bit similar. So you can tell it was trying to be really, really good, but the problem with it is that, and the problem with a lot of these is that it was super cliche. It had really great animation. I loved the art, but it was really, really cliche and predictable. The romantic aspects of it, I think, are what make it so cliche and predictable. I think without the romantic aspects, it would be a lot better. But either way, it could end up being really, really, really good, but at least from the first episode, basically every single little thing that happened was really predictable and really, again, cliche in the term that I've seen it happen a million times with a million shows. So that's why it was so low out of all the ones I was watching. And that's not to say I didn't like it or Gridman. I liked both of them. They just had their problems that I think they'll have to overcome in future episodes. And the 13th would be Release the Spice. It was less Princess Principal and more a Battle Girl show. And as far as Battle Girl shows go, it was maybe the best in the genre I've seen so far, just from one episode, because they're usually pretty low budget. But yeah, Release the Spice wasn't that bad. It has kind of a weird setting, I guess. But I'm really excited to see sort of the character development and battles between our main group. What were they? The Tsukiyami or something like that? I think there was something like that, or Tsukikage, I think it was. Them and the evil group that we saw at the very end of the episode. I'm excited to see those two groups and what they can do to face off, and the development between the two of them. So I think it could be a really good show. 12th, Akanas Shoujo. I put it a little bit above Release the Spice because it has a cool concept. It kind of feels, again, Battle Girl-ish. But I really liked, and again, doing 3D CG fighting well. The 3D CG fight there was really good. So there's that, and I find the whole concept of, I don't know, the alternate versions of themselves to be a really cool concept to get into. Then 11th, Re-Ride D, R-E-Ride D, Tokigoe no Derera. Not sure how to say the title out loud. I'm pretty sure that's the studio's first anime they've ever done. So for their first anime, you can tell there are certain things with the sound mixing or the animation that they're like, okay, you can tell they're a little bit new. But at the same time, I think the story is really, really intriguing. And I thought that the way they did the first episode was really cool. So it's one of those things where the first episode really caught my attention and made me want to see more. Even though, again, it wasn't like this super, super great production quality stuff. So, Rewrite D, 11th. 10th, I'd say Kazegatsuyoku Fuiteru. It's another one like Irazuku Sekai no Ashikara, where it's another one of those that's kind of Oscar bait type stuff, where you can tell they're going for that style of storytelling and that style of animation. But it was a lot better. It seems a bit like the cute boys doing cute things type of genre, like a free type deal, but it seems like it's going to tell a really, really good story, and that's why I put it at 10th, because it made me feel like the future of the story was going to be really good. 9th, I'd say Double Decker Duggan Kiril. I love the idea and the concept. The animation reminds me a lot, in a way, of another show I liked. What was it? Garo Vanishing Line. So I really like that, and I like the characters that we've seen thus far, and the concept of the entire show. So I'm pretty excited to see what they're going to do with that. 8th is Radiant. We didn't get to see too much from the first episode, but I love the universe. The character designs are cool. It feels like this cool little alternative shonen, you know? So I really liked Radiant. And like I said about the PV for it, it is one of those things. When I saw the first artwork, I was like, it doesn't look like it's going to be that great. Then I saw the PV and I was like, this is a lot better than I was expecting. And then I see the first episode and I was like, yeah, this is really fun. It has good action. It has a good setting. I really like the setting a lot. And yeah, just in general, it was good. It had good comedy, too, which was more than I was expecting. 7th, Uchi no Maid ga Uza Sugiru. This is another one of those. It reminded me in a way of Slow Start, where it's just a normal-ass comedy, and you're like, oh, a comedy doesn't need to have great animation. And then the animation was, like, stupidly good for a comedy. It was, like, stupidly high-end, which is amazing. I love the ending. The ending theme has been stuck in my head so much. But I really like the characters and the setting a lot, and it's one of those where I get, again, to compare it to something else with a maid, to compare it to Dragon Maid, it really gives me those feels of being a wacky comedy that's going to also tell a really good story. It gives me those kind of feels. I feel like this is going to be one of those comedies that tells a good story too. That said though, as a comedy, it wasn't making me laugh as much as some of the other ones. But like I said, it's going to be like a storytelling comedy. My 6th favorite premiere was Anima Yells. I was not expecting much at all of Anima Yell. I was like, the animation's probably not going to be great. The comedy's probably going to be very, very normal. But it exceeded my expectations in pretty much every aspect. When it came to storytelling, when it came to the comedy, when it came to the animation, it all exceeded my expectations. And that's what you can kind of see a lot with this list. A lot of the ones low down are ones that it's like, I expect a lot from Trigger. Gridman wasn't that great. I expected a lot from Goblin Slayer. It wasn't that great. So a lot of the ones you can tell, like, whether they didn't live up to the expectations or whether they really surpassed them. And that's why Anime Yells up so high, because it's one of those things that I judged not only the first episode, but I also judged how much I'm going to be like waiting for episode 2, waiting for episode 3. And I feel like for a lot of these comedies, they did a bit better than some of the more serious stuff this time around. 5th, I would actually say Tonari no Kyuuketsuki-san. This is probably the surprising one, because a lot of the ones, my order isn't really that surprising, the order I enjoyed them in. But this one I think I enjoyed more than most because it is so much right up my alley. I love these sort of supernatural or Monster Girl kind of comedies. So to have a vampire comedy, all the vampire jokes were really good, the characters were lovable and enjoyable. And the comedy, yeah, in general, it just made me laugh. It made me laugh a lot. It was a really good comedy. And I liked how they had sort of the different locations for the comedy. They had not only the school, but mostly at the main character's, well, the vampire main character's house. But if she starts going to school with the other main character, and we have some more comedy there, that's going to add a lot more to the show too. 4th was Yagate Kimi ni Naru. Okay, so this one, it was a Yuri series, and I didn't know what to expect from it, but the production quality was a lot more than what I expected. The storytelling was a lot more than I expected. And in general, I think I tweeted about it right after I watched it. I was like, I was transfixed and enthralled. I was just like, completely like just glued to the screen while watching this one. So for a just romance to do that's pretty good in my opinion. But yeah, I was glued to the screen. I really, really liked Yagate Kimi ni Naru. It did the whole shoujo-ai thing in a way that I haven't really seen it done before. So this could end up being my favorite shoujo-ai. It's got a few contenders to beat, because not only do I enjoy shoujo-ai, but there have been a lot of good shoujo-ai that I've watched. So it's got some things to live up to, but I really enjoyed the first episode. 3, I almost like it almost doesn't even need to be on the list. Toada Majusa no Index 3. I've been waiting years and years for it. We got the announcement that we're going to have Railgun Season 3 and that we're going to have an Accelerator anime. So I'm incredibly excited. And I'm excited we have 2 cores of Index 3 right now. So after all this time, I'm just glad to have it back. And it looks like it's going to be just the same sort of quality as Index 2 and the first Index, only better and updated for the times. And second, I mentioned it before, but Tensei Shitara Slime Dataken, I really enjoyed this one. Because I went into it thinking, you know, I'll probably like it, but it's just going to be a titty isekai. It's going to be one of these isekai, guy dies, goes to an alternate world, bunch of girls all over him. Especially with the slime genre, I was like, okay, bunch of tentacle ecchi scenes probably. But no, it was totally not that whatsoever. There was pretty much, I don't think there was any fan service, like, at all. So I really enjoyed it. It was the most creative take I've ever seen on this general same isekai type story. So for it to be the most creative I've seen was already something, but then we had the opening at the end. And the opening says a lot about the show. It wasn't a bunch of fan service. It had characters other than the main character getting a lot of cool moments in there. And the animation was really high quality. So again, it's a bunch of stuff that is unique to me that I haven't seen from titty isekai, basically. It's a titty isekai without the titty. So I'm incredibly excited for Tensei Shitara Slime Dataken. And number 1, Zombieland Saga was my favorite premiere because I wasn't sure what to expect. I knew it was going to be kind of different. I didn't think it was just going to be a normal zombie apocalypse series because of the PV, and it turned out to be kind of an idle series, but the comedy was so good. I was dying of laughter the entire time. The comedy was so nuanced and good. The animation was really nice. I really liked the character designs. The voice acting was so good. I love the back and forth they'd have between the main male character and Sakura. That was so good. And of course Yamada Tai was hilarious. So all of that was really good. So because they're my favorite 2 out of these, I'm going to review Zombieland Saga and Slime Dataken. I'm going to review those weekly along with Index 3. And for the next 3 or 4 in line, maybe even 5, I'm considering it. Like if any of you tell me I want you to review Yagate Kimi ni Naru weekly, if there's any interest in it, I'd be like, okay, yeah, I'll review it weekly. Same with Kyuuketsuki-san or Anime Yell or Uzamaid or Radiant. Any of those, if any of you say, hey, you should really review this weekly, I'll be like, okay, totally on it. Because I really did enjoy them a lot. And I feel like they'd be fun to review. For some of the ones lower on the list, I just don't know if they'd be as fun to review. So I actually have, again, schedule written down here for how it's changed. The stuff that's monthly is going to remain the same. Whenever Manmusu, or I guess 12 Beasts, whenever there's a new one's out, or whenever there's a new one out. Like anything like 12 Beasts, Manmusu, The Walking Dead, anything like that that's monthly, I'm going to be doing my live reactions and reviews whenever it comes out. Elf-sama Yasuraranai, obviously, which should be out any day now. So that's the way things are going to go with those. But other than those, the actual weekly things, Mondays are going to be for the Tower of God live reaction in the morning, and then I'll be doing the Slime Dataken reviews in the afternoon. Tuesdays will be the Magical Girl Raising Project video, hopefully in the morning-ish, and then the Tower of God review in the afternoon. Wednesday will be for the read-through video, whether right now we're going back and forth between Beastars and The Promised Neverland, but when we catch up to one of those, we can throw something new in the mix. But those are the 2 that are going on right now, and that's going to be Wednesday. Thursday will be the HaQ&A, or a special video on a week when I don't have a HaQ&A. There'll be the HaQ&A, and I'm going to review Zombieland Saga on Thursdays too, or at least I'm going to try to. And then Fridays, the mornings, of course, as soon as I wake up, I'll be getting on the Boku no Hero Academia and One Piece live reactions for the manga, and then in the afternoon I'll do my Index review, except Index wasn't out and available in my area for some reason until the afternoon. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do. Index should be Friday afternoon, but if it has to be Saturday mornings, I can do it Saturday morning. And then for the One Piece anime double review catch-up thing that I'm doing, it's going to be on Sundays where I've been trying to do it. So 2 episodes every Sunday until we catch up, and in that case I'll probably just do an episode each Sunday after then. But that leaves me with no video Saturday if I'm not doing Index Saturday. So since Saturday is open, that's when I'll do a special video, whether it's a favorite characters video for something, or a discussion for something, or even if it's the way I'm going to start it out is probably going to be those reviews for shows from last season, just general show reviews. So that's the way I think I'm going to do Saturdays. And for all of this, sorry this video is so much longer than I was hoping it would be. But for all these, I'll probably put as much information as I can. Like, I'll type out the schedule, I'll type out the order that I put those shows in that I enjoyed them, and maybe some small thoughts on each. But I'll probably put all those down in the comments, because it is, I know, easier to read things like schedules than to have me explain them. They need explanation, but it's easy to read them, so I'm going to put them in the comments probably. But either way, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any sort of, again, input, like anything you wanted me to review weekly out of those things I was talking about, just let me know down in the comments and I'll get on it. So either way, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like if you did like the video, comment down there. Again, anything you thought about this, or anything that, any suggestions or requests that you have. Subscribe for more. All of this, much more on the channel. Follow on Twitter if you want. I can try to keep you updated there and stuff for the channel, or talk to you there. And if you want a link to our Discord server to talk to me or any of us on Discord, then just ask and I'll give you a link to the Discord server. It's free and open for anyone. That's it. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.